fellas, I definitely am switching up the order of videos I plan on the remainder of this month. It's going to take a while to script plus than I expected, and also another reason, I finally got my belated Omicron booster. Huzzah! So, with that in mind, I definitely going to be talking about a compilation of games I definitely will be spending time doing copy playing. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. Going to be going over all the games featured in this pack, as well as accounting for version differences whenever possible. All 13 games, including the 11 ones that have the Japanese counterparts in there. So let's begin, dudes. This was the first of many games that was cast in on Turtle Mania in the late 80s and early 1990s. Being released at the peak of the series' popularity in 1989. It's actually kind of amusing because it actually didn't start as a Turtles game in development, becoming one over time. If that gives you some Doki Doki Paper Mario 2 flashbacks, you're not alone. I am well aware of the meta difficulty. I may even throw my proverbial whole turtle mask in the ring of people who have taken a whack at this game. But if I'm being totally honest, it's in the same ballpark as contemporaries like Ninja Gaiden and the Lost Levels version of Mario Bros. 2 and Konami's own Castlevania and Contra games as well. I will definitely verify that the defusing the bombs in the dams every regular day if I can go through it without at least one of my turtles dying having to start over. And the Technodrome and Shredder are definitely my Everest, as they were for a great many people. And given the quality of life feature they added to this game, like the removing the split flicker and slowdown, it was a very satisfying moment when I finally beat this for the first time. I mean, I'll give them some leeway. They were pulling me from the comic as opposed to the cartoon. There wasn't even any templates for what to do with the Turtles game at the time. Fortunately, one emerged later that same year. Here on the lady playing April on the promotional whole part here, so naturally, the arcade game debuted that November and definitely caused many quarter pumping among people growing up in that time frame, and many cents. Hence, made it simple yet satisfying as a beat 'em up, being the same aim DNA as the likes of Final Fight, Age, Streets of Rage, a slew of them. So it's definitely also pretty good timing given how it's in lead up to the first live action movie, which created a hunger for more at home. And I'll be getting to that in a bit, but first, here's the first of several installments on the Game Boy. This title, well, as the first installment on Game Boy, was a pretty interesting experiment, I would say. I mean, hey, being more than just a simple source one beat 'em up, but also elements of platforming, puzzle solving, and also specific turtles having to meet each scenario. Oh, and I'll be coming back to this when I talk about the other Game Boy games including this collection. And in terms of difficulty, I definitely place it as a bit below the 1989 NES game, but it's above the arcade game, which brings me to my next subject. This is on the list of my all-time favorite NES games. Definitely in the top three. The other two in the order being Mario Bros. 3 and Legend of Zelda. Spending many a sleepover and weekend afternoon going through all the mutants, including several elements that are unique to this version, like having back Stockman's fly form, as well as new stages of Frozen Central Park, where you fight Tor the polar bear, and what I can definitely charitably describe as like a Foot Clan dojo, where you fight the robotic samurai shogun. And I still, in both this and the arcade version, love just seeing the Englishy he he end screen text every single time, saying elves can sleep under beds or shells. Yeah, so just bear with me. I'm still recovering from my shot yesterday, so let's keep going. Now we're talking. In addition to the console ports, which I will be also be interested in this video, this was easily considered to be the best TMNT game, a feat which was yet to be matched for decades until this year, which took away lessons from that. There'll be another time to address it, but bottom line, I really like the whole idea of traveling through time. I'm going through prehistoric era, uh, the golden age of piracy, the old west, and the future. Well, what we consider to be the future in the early 90s. Much simpler time before. Let's just say there was a whole lot of neon night riding that year. In fact, I played this game a lot. In that time frame, have to take my mind and get it where my body is off the streets. But I digress. I also like the variety of bosses, even having Token Razor from the a second movie in there as well. I guess it was most likely developed on the time that the movie was being shot as well. And even though they weren't quite as intimidating by Rocksteady were, they were at least more threatening in this game, as well as other ones we're addressing, than they were in the movie, basically being mutated wolf puppy and baby snapping turtle. While only having fairly recently played it in Battle's Collection is the first time I actually have owned it, this is actually a pretty entertaining little title. I mean, it may not be my favorite Turtles game by any means, but as a portable experience, it definitely does a good job for making action platform on the go. There's going to be one more Game Boy title address in this collection, and as well. And with that in mind, it definitely now we're going to be going to the ones from when I was born in 1992. This game, even released in a year where many people are moving on to Genesis, Super Nintendo, still had the NES, has some miles left in the tank. And it was also the first turtle game to have a story beyond simply a fight the foot and a shredder. Nothing too groundbreaking, but Shredder not only kidnaps April when Charles on vacation in Key West, lifting Manhattan Island in the sky, so they have to save both her and the city before or they drop it back down. And there's another one where much like it comes in handy for the movie slow down and the sprite flickering, because it definitely is one that pushes this to its limits. Like the special moves each turtle has, where Michelangelo's kangaroo kick, Leonardo's spin attack with his swords, whereas Raphael's missile, Donatello's staff spin, which is more vertical, the constant horizontal one that Leo has. I also like the variety of enemies. These include not just people of Rocksteady, but also Slash, Groundchuck, and Dirtbag, who's a mole person in the subway stage. And you had to fight Shredder twice, another parallel with the second movie. The first is regular Shredder, then to douse himself the last file of Mutagen, Super Shredder, who just put a bit more of a fight than he does in a movie where they try to talk him down. He's not having any of it, but instead of crushing himself under a dock and a nightclub, he's basically on top of the Technodrome. He's basically trying to take New York into space, which even in 1992 that would absolutely kill the property values there, I would say. Hey, and a simple high 3. Congratulations, and still a fun game to all this time. One can definitely see myself playing more and more as I work on recuperating. Well, not quite an arcade perfect port of the arcade game. The fourth main console installment in the franchise definitely comes close and easily one of the Super Nintendo game system as well, and easily, arguably, its best beat 'em up. I mean, again, I played it extensively the last couple of years and have beaten it more than once, and definitely like how, even though it's not exactly the same as the arcade game, where again, we fight the Cement Man in the Prehistoric Turtles War stage, Age in the arcade version. Here, you fight Slash, who's a bit more intimidating than he is in the cartoon one was. We also fight pirate named people Rocksteady on Skull and Crossbones. Rather than to get Tucker Razor, you do that in the Technodrome, which is unique to this game. I also like the whole idea of being able to hold the foot soldiers right at the camera. It's still very fun to do that, and you actually have to with the first games for Shredder, and again, final fights against Super Shredder, in an attempt to get the Statue of Liberty back from crying. You gotta love that absurdity sometimes. Yeah. That's not to say Sega Genesis logos were left out of one piece of the action. We're not exactly the same games here, arcade or SNES versions. It still managed to be a fun little experience which reworks all of the same levels and has some new material unique to this game. And even though you couldn't toss your enemies to the camera anymore due to the limitations Genesis had, it still proved to be an entertaining game among the many beat 'em ups on the console. This right down like Streets of Rage and Golden Axe, a whole slew of them. And it's definitely not the only multi-platform title I'm going to be talking about in this video either. So let's have some Total Combat. Out of the many fighting games made to cash in on the success of Street Fighter II Mortal Kombat in the early to mid 90s, this is honestly one of my favorite ones. I mean, by design, and for terrapins that know ninjutsu and their many rogues gallery at that time frame were a perfect fit. I like how not only the rollback neck comes NES version, but also how you can unlock the Shredder and other bosses right out of the gate. And yep, I can obviously in the Genesis version, which isn't quite as good. Like I saw Sport, Waveful Ace OP, and Triceraton is also quite powerful. And even the NES version, as one of the last official titles released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in the States, seriously, a low price for just a game by itself on eBay, like no box manual or anything, is like $300. Which means because it came out near the end of the console's life cycle, well, is also pretty ambitious. Like how they obviously could not do as elaborate a game as like the SNES Genesis version's solution. Actually make it probably one of the best one-on-one fighters in the system. Even though Toss don't use their weapons, they still train ninjas after all. Their fists and their turtle legs, and I like how each one has a distinct kind of grapple as well. Also, you're not always like playing like the same guy in different mask either. So, and let's start wrapping this up with one last title in this collection. The third and final Turtles game released for the original Game Boy. I would honestly say that TMNT 3, The Radical Rescue, was simply Radical Rescue, depending on which copy of the game you have. I mean, I've seen it used both ways. In fact, I actually took a few tries to find a working JPEG here, in which you are Michelangelo. You start out playing as him, and you have to rescue your brothers and also stop Shredder and the other villains who broke out of prison. And something tells me that Rikers would not have been enough to contain Stocky and his followers. And it's actually a pretty ambitious title. I mean, even with the limitation of the Game Boy's carts in that time frame, it still managed to feel like a full-fledged experience. And I'm not saying we get to Link's Awakening and Metroid 2 levels, but it proves that not every single game had to sacrifice the size of the adventure for the size of the handheld either. And definitely say that this is a collection that has joined the list of my favorite game compilations that Digital Clubs had their hands on. They worked with Sega, Capcom, and Disney, to name a few, in the past, and I'm open to seeing them and do more, given how this one's been a big hit. I mean, this one actually just got more shipments in my area. They've been sold out for weeks now, almost the entire month. That took place in the order, and I can only imagine what's going to be like trying to find like a physical copy of Shredder's Revenge, to say the least. And Nickelodeon also wants to make a big budget Hit Turtles game, which I'm okay with based on the success of this collection, Shredder's Revenge. I'm not saying that whoever they hire would have to copy what was done with the Batman Arkham series or Insomniac Spider-Man games, but will be good models to follow in terms, and also good bar of quality. You can make each individual turtle skills. You can even have some missions centered on April or Splinter or Casey. Make use of the Rogues Gallery, and especially New York as a setting. If you want to go in open world styling, like how, even if a lot of it would also be trying to find your way through a sewer. Anyway, that'll be all for now. I will see you all again soon, because tomorrow's gonna be another vlog on Andor, and I'm also going to approach some spoiler review of Thor: Love and Thunder, so I'll release that soon. Take care, dudes. Mm.